Stand Derby County versus Manchester United preview and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference reaction. Well, let's start off talking about Paul Pogba, of course. He is Manchester United's... I don't know whether we've actually started the stream yet, so I'm just going to have to assume that we have. So Derby County versus Manchester United preview and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference reaction. Sorry if I've had to repeat myself there, but I didn't know whether we were live or not. But let's start off with injury news. We'll talk about lineups. We'll talk about Derby. We'll talk about the FA Cup. We'll talk about the priority of the FA Cup. We'll talk about what Ollie said about the FA Cup, the treble. Lots to get through, but let's start off with injury news. Paul Pogba's return date has been confirmed by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It isn't this week. It isn't this week. He will continue to train with his physio away from the first team, and then next week will start training with the first team. Now remember, United play the Manchester Derby on Sunday. They'll have a day off on Monday, so Pogba's not going to start training until Tuesday, which means he won't play on the Thursday. There's an outside chance he might be involved against Spurs, but we've basically lost a week on what a lot of people thought. A lot of people thought he would be back training today. That's not the case. It's next week, so look, maybe he doesn't fancy that reunion against Mourinho. Well, I was hoping Pogba would be back for that, but maybe he still will be, but at least we've got a return date now. There's a lot, I think with Pogba, there's a lot of speculation about when he's going to be back. Oh, he's going to be back for this, he's going to be back for that. Back next week training with the first team, and then hopefully we will get to see Pogba more. I mean, Pogba may be looking at United's fixtures and saying, look, I quite fancy coming back for the home leg against Lynx and Sheffield United at home and the easier games, just not because he doesn't want to play the harder games, but just and maybe need an extra week to make sure I'm back. So Pogba back training next week. Rashford no date, but also couple of niggles. This look, people are going to go in on the medical staff here. I think the medical staff at United is very poor. I think the fitness at United is very poor, and it does need to improve. We have got a couple of niggles. Dan James won't play against Derby, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka's had a little niggle as well. Unfortunately, this to me is not about the medical staff. This is about we're playing so many games. We've played so many games this season. Wan-Bissaka's not had many rests. Dan James hasn't had many rests, and it doesn't surprise me that those players are starting to pick up niggles. We've also got a lot of games to come now. It's about squad management, and with an FA Cup game tomorrow, and a Derby on Sunday, and then next Thursday Europa League, and then Spurs away, and then Europa League. We're playing Thursday, Sunday every bloody week. We could have done with this FA Cup tie tonight to have an extra day's rest for the Derby. It's, Man City play tonight. I don't know what... TV money, isn't it? It's TV money. That's what it's all about tomorrow. So these niggles are going to happen. We thought we might have lost Martial at the weekend. Dan James wasn't fit. He's not fit now. Wan-Bissaka's got a little niggle. We're going to pick up these niggles as the season goes on, unfortunately. And I think prioritising FA Cup and other areas for Manchester United is going to be very, very important. But we'll talk about that in a moment. I mean, Vandy Candy says Wan-Bissaka is so important. We play him at literally every game. Harry Maguire as well. I think he will play tomorrow. He also spoke about the FA Cup and the priority of the FA Cup. I mean, I said last night, I don't think the FA Cup's a priority for United. I know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will take the FA Cup as a priority. He's spoken in the past about growing up in Norway. The FA Cup final was the big event. I remember that as a kid. The FA Cup final was the biggest game. I think the youth of today would not understand that. The FA Cup was the biggest game of the year, the FA Cup final. It isn't anymore, but that romance with it, you don't want to underrate the cup, says Ollie. It is a priority, but I just don't think we've got the squad for it. And it's interesting, he was talking about the treble and how Liverpool didn't do the treble and could it be done again? And he said, look, we hope to do it at some point, but it's more or less impossible now because there's better teams around now. I think that's more about trying to excuse the fact that we've had a crap season this year and trying to make out that it's a hard season. I don't think the teams are any better now than they were in '99. I think Liverpool have been good. I think Man City are a good side, but everybody else is crap. Arsenal and United of '99 better than Man City and Liverpool now in relation to consistency and quality. I don't think it is a good Premier League year now, but doing the treble is very difficult. I agree with Ollie that doing the treble is very difficult because the intensity of the game is more. The games seem to come like every 5 minutes. It's very, very difficult. And I think that's the problem we're going to have. If I was Ollie tomorrow, I'd be going with a team like that, which I will talk about in a moment. He also spoke about Bruno settling in. He says, I'm not surprised. Of course, you hope he's going to settle in quickly, but if you look at his personality, the aura he brings, his leadership, the quality of the player, it's not really a surprise that he's settled in. It's a surprise to me that if you're going to speak about him like that, you didn't sign him in the summer when everyone else told you to. But, let's not forget that huge mistake that United made, not signing Bruno in the summer and nearly letting him go to Spurs. Let's just pretend it's a great signing in January and it was planned, because it bloody wasn't. But there you go, we've got him anyway. I'm not going to moan about that too much. Spoke about De Gea and said, look, I'm very happy with De Gea that he spoke about that world-class save that would have been 2-0 to Everton straight after the mistake, which I was speaking about on Sunday. So a little bit of a chat about De Gea, although I'd expect Romero to play. And then he also spoke about Rooney. Is Rooney underappreciated? He said no, he's club's top scorer. I don't think he's underrated or underappreciated by the fans. But I just very, very quickly with Rooney, because let's talk about the game tomorrow. Obviously, Wayne Rooney will be playing for Derby County. It's a sellout. What do we know about Derby? I mean, Rooney normally plays as the number 10 or in midfield. He played in a 4-2-3-1 as a midfielder at the weekend in their win against Sheffield Wednesday. They're managed by Cocu, who is obviously ex-Dutch Barcelona midfielder. So they like to play a short passing game. They like to play centrally. And I think Derby will give a good account of themselves. We may watch the game tomorrow and say Derby are a better footballing side than us. It could be another one of those games. They were last year when they came to Old Trafford with Lampard, and a lot of those players are still there. Watch out for Tom Lawrence. He's sort of like number 10, can play off wide if Rooney plays central. He's probably one of their better players, with obviously Rooney. And I think that Derby will go for it. With regards to Rooney, I don't think Rooney's underappreciated. I don't know what you lot think. I don't think Rooney's underappreciated by Manchester United. I think, unfortunately, what happened with Rooney, and it's happened with a couple of legends of the club, is that towards the end, they probably overstayed their welcome a little bit. Rooney declined too young because he was overplayed too young. And I always say this about Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford, you've got to be very careful of, because it's always great when they're in their youth, they can run around. But I've seen it with Rooney. Rooney was pretty much done at 29. Like, he was on the decline because he'd been overplayed. So I think the problem with Rooney was that we were looking at a player that was 29, 30 and thinking, you shouldn't be done. Look at Messi, look at Ronaldo, they're still brilliant. And Rooney was pretty much done. But the club sort of treated Rooney like he was still one of the great players, but he wasn't. He declined in relation to being able to do what he'd done. I mean, Rooney's still a very good player now, but he's not a patch on what he was. And I think that Manchester United fans got to see that Rooney was on the decline, and that frustrated United fans because he just became not good enough. But time will be kind to Wayne Rooney, because Wayne Rooney is a legend of Manchester United, and Wayne Rooney was a superb world-class player for Manchester United. So I don't think Rooney's underappreciated. I just think the last few years of Rooney, he declined, and people saw that decline and got to the point where we're like, should Rooney be... I remember, the United stand was around when Rooney was in his last couple of years, and I remember doing videos saying Rooney should be dropped. Like, he's just not good enough. And that's horrible to say to a legend, but you've got to... I think United fans are honest. He probably should have been dropped. But time will be kind to Rooney, because he was a fantastic player, and he was a fantastic player for Manchester United. So I don't think he's underappreciated. And I don't think that the whole asking for a transfer thing, I think it upsets some people, but he's a fantastic player for the club. Jordan Such says, Mark, we have a Manchester derby on Sunday. If on the right track, that is your side for tomorrow, why would you have Maguire and Fred in there? Well, let's talk about that. That's my predicted team for tomorrow. I don't know what you lot thinks. But Romero will start. I think Eric Bailly will definitely start because he didn't start at the weekend. I think he'll pick Maguire because he always picks Maguire. I would play Phil Jones. I would, or Twan Sebi if he's fit. I wouldn't play Maguire, but he always plays Maguire. And when Maguire gets injured and when Fred gets injured, hopefully they don't, we will be able to say he overplayed them. But I wouldn't play Maguire, but I think he will. Williams will come in at left back because obviously Williams and Shaw are battling that out, and it's a good opportunity to mix it up. Delot will come in at right back because Wan-Bissaka looks like he's injured, but I would play Delot anyway. McTominay needs game time, so he should start. Matic gets the rest for the weekend. Pereira's got to come in, whether he's good enough or not. The Brazilian Ozil or whatever you want to call him, or the Stoke Ozil, whatever. He will have to come in, and hopefully he will play well. Lingard will have to play, and I would think Lingard will play in the 2. I think he's got to play the diamond, hasn't he? Why play the diamond against Everton and then not play it in the next game? I don't like this diamond formation. I really don't like it. But you might actually get more width from Williams and Delot than you would from Wan-Bissaka and Shaw, because I think going forward, Williams and Delot are probably better than those two. So we'll see how it works. Lingard likes to drift wide, and Ighalo will put a shift in. So those two should play up front to give Martial a rest, because remember, Martial nearly had a knock last week, so let's rest him. Mata should play, and Bruno should rest for the weekend. And there's players that have got to play in this game, whether you want them to or not. And I genuinely don't want some of them to play, but it's about keeping people back for the derby. It's about giving people a rest. And if you look at the games we've got over the next few weeks, we're playing every Thursday till the international break. So we've got 2 legs of the Europa League for the next 2 Thursdays. We've got City on the Sunday, Spurs the Sunday after, Sheffield United the Sunday after. We're playing every few games. Now, this is the only game we can rest our players. And people can look at that team and they can go, oh no, you've got to play Bruno, you've got to play Martial. And I'm like, no. We haven't got to play those players. Let's be clever here. I mean, I'd love to see Bruno start, but let's be clever. If Solskjaer wants to get top 4, which is wide open still, and he wants to win the Europa League, which is winnable, then today is the only day you can rest players until the international break. And on the international break, Bruno's going to be playing for Portugal. Maguire's going to be playing for England. So there is no break for these players until probably the end of June, because some of these will be playing in the Euros if it all goes ahead. So we've got to rest players tomorrow. He's got to rest Bruno. He's got to rest Matic. He's got to rest Martial. He's got to rest some of his players. And Pereira, Mata, Lingard, Romero, Delot, they've got to play. They've got to play. That's what they're in the squad for. It'll make it, and I will talk about my score prediction in a minute, but why have I got Fred in there? Because I can't construct a midfield. I can't construct a midfield without playing somebody who's going to have to play on Sunday. And I think he won't play Levitt. He won't play Garner. So he's going to have to play Fred, isn't he? That's my thought process on that. Please do smash a like on the video if you're watching. Remember, Pogba's return date has been confirmed by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It will be next week, not this week. He's still training with the physio this week, and he will join up with the first team next week. So no involvement in the derby. Outside chance of the Spurs game a week on Sunday, which was what we were already think. Twansebi's injury seems to be a mystery, says Fares. Well, they are back. Twansebi and Fosu Mensah are back. I just don't think they'll be match fit for Derby, which is a shame. And obviously, Ighalo comes into the team to rest Martial. Score prediction, I think it's going to be a tight game. Unless Ollie goes into this game and really puts out a strong team, I think it will be a close game, because I think the Championship is ridiculously tight. I mean, Derby of recent results, they were 3-0 up at half-time away to Sheffield Wednesday. Derby are a mid-table Championship side who actually, over the last month or so, have had very good results. On form, they're probably a playoff side. It's just whether they can catch up with that. So Derby are doing well. Rooney will be motivated. Rooney's probably going to be the biggest leader on the pitch, unfortunately, because I don't think Bruno will start. So that gives Derby an advantage, home advantage as well. I think it will be a tight game. I think United have got a lot of players that are not good enough going to be playing tomorrow. So I think it will be tight. And to be honest with you, I could see it being a draw, and then we might have penalties again. We might end up having penalties. So I think it will be a draw. I'm going to go 1-1. If I'm absolutely honest with you, if we lose tomorrow, I'll be furious, because we should be beating Derby County, even with that team. And I won't be happy about it. But actually, the bigger picture, it wouldn't be... It's a difficult one. I don't want to lose. Liverpool are out. The treble is safe for another year, which is fantastic. I don't want to celebrate it like an Arsenal fan and go, yeah, we've won the treble again, like they do every year with their Invincibles. I think that's a small club mentality. I'm not celebrating United have retained the treble. I am just happy that another team's not going to do what was a great achievement. But Liverpool are still going to win the league, and that's still a bad season for us. But the FA Cup for United, with Liverpool out of it, the only team in the FA Cup I think we can't beat, and we might be able to beat them on Sunday, is Man City. I think Chelsea, Spurs, Sheffield United, Leicester, whoever's left in the FA Cup, Arsenal, we can beat them. Apart from Man City on their day, I think they're too good for us. So staying in the FA Cup, we could win this cup. But is it worth staying in the FA Cup when we're trying to get top 4 in the Europa League? I think with the injury records we've got and the amount of games we're playing, is the FA Cup too much for us, like I said last night? But then again, I always want United to win. So I'm sort of toying with the idea that if we lose tomorrow, will it be such a bad thing? And actually, I've just come to the conclusion that, of course it is. You don't want to lose games. I mean, ultimately, not being in the FA Cup might help us with the Europa League and the Premier League, but you can't ever have that mentality. Oh, if we lose, it won't be a bad thing. Of course it's a bad thing. And it's a bad thing for those set of players if they do lose, because it's embarrassing. Mark, do you know YouTube channel 44Tunes? It's funny how they fit you in their videos, says Sergey Mamadov. I don't know. I didn't know I'd been in one for quite a while. Maybe slot Fosu Mensah in the CDM role, says Fontmont Jane. Well, I don't know whether Fosu Mensah will be fit enough to play. Look, I agree with everybody. I wouldn't play Fred and I wouldn't play Maguire tomorrow, but I think he will do to give that team something. I mean, to be honest, if you replace Maguire with Jones and Fred with, I don't know, Garner, that team, if you look at it, becomes very vulnerable. He will want to... I don't know. He may not go as weak as that. Like, you know, actually, I'm probably being too sensible there, talking about squad rotation, injuries, giving people a rest. I guarantee he'll probably pick Bruno. He might even pick Martial. I think that's massively risky because this is the only game he can rest players for the next 4 weeks, but he might go stronger. He might go stronger than that. Some interesting news from Anmar Mohammed as well. I must just bring this in. Jude Bellingham, who is a 16-year-old Birmingham player. He's been brilliant. United were linked to him. He's going to bloody Borussia Dortmund and they're going to pay £30 million for him. Now, I actually know people who do a Birmingham City fan channel as well. I was speaking to them about 2 weeks ago, and they walked their dog where I walk my dog, and we were having a chat. And he said that United were interested very interested in Jude Bellingham, but they wouldn't cough up the money. They were doing it in instalments, like 6 million now and then 20 million in 100 years. So, Birmingham didn't want to go for it. And United have missed out again to bloody Dortmund again. Imagine if we got Haaland and Bellingham. It's really, really disappointing. Welcome to Maid Schooler, who is new. And if Chelsea can play a smallish kid like Gilmour versus Liverpool, surely we can do it Garner against Derby, says Lynn Hort. Oh, I'd love to see Garner. I'd love to see Gomez. I'd like to see Chong, but I think he's going to go with the diamond. I mean, to be honest with you, if he doesn't go with the diamond, he could actually rest Fred. If you look at that team there, you could take Fred out, play a holding two of McTominay and Pereira with Mata ahead, Lingard to the right, Agallo up front and Chong on the left. That's how you get not to play Fred. But I think he's surely gonna go with the diamond. Otherwise, why did we play the diamond against Everton? I think the only reason he's playing the diamond is because he has plans to bring Pogba into this. The signings. Thanks for getting rid of them, Maria. I almost replied, so thanks for that. And Josh Sutton says, I think Ollie will go as strong as humanly possible on all fronts until we get knocked out of one of the competitions. Ollie has poor rotation, so why change now? I think that's a very intelligent comment from Josh, and I've seen a few people talking about it. Why are you talking about squad rotation when Solskjaer's proven that he won't do that? And unfortunately, you do look at the past and you think, well, Wolves replaying the FA Cup brings Rashford on, we lose him for 4 months. Rochdale plays Pogba for 90 minutes with an injury. We lose him for most of the season. So, look, is he going to go weak? I'm excited about tomorrow, though. I think tomorrow is... I loved the Liverpool-Chelsea game last night. Look, it didn't have the quality of a Premier League game because there were a few changes made by both sides, but they both went for it in a way that was probably a little bit freer than a Premier League game. And I think United Derby tomorrow, Derby, sell-out crowd, they'll just go for it, and United are going to have to respond to it. And ultimately, it's a competitive game for Manchester United. And I do want us to win. I think for me, it's about, yes, I want us to win, but I don't want to win at the expense of burning out our big players. So it depends on what team Ollie picks, but that team there should be good enough to beat Derby. Pereira, Mata's on 140 grand a week. Lingard's probably not far off 100 grand a week. Eric Bay's been fantastic for us. Delo, you were being scouted by Real Madrid and we nicked them from you. Williams looks a good player. McTominay, has had a brilliant season. Igalo, well, this is your opportunity. So these players, just because they're not first teamers, they should still be stepping up to the plate and good enough to beat a Championship derby side. And I think this is sometimes where our expectations get lowered, is that we say, well, you know what, they're not good enough. But they should be good enough. Like, if you drop Lingard or Pereira into the Championship, they should be one of the Championship's best players. It's arguable whether they would, but they should be. So they should be stepping up to the plate tomorrow and we should be winning. What is the latest news about Pochettino? Is he still interested? Says Anshuman Achari. We are late at 8. We are 8 o'clock. We might be late. We are live at 8 o'clock tonight, actually, and we will be taking calls on the Discord. So we'll see what happens with your questions there. So we are still going to be live at 8 o'clock tonight. But just a little recap. I've covered Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference on this preview as well. He spoke about injuries. Pogba back next week. There was talk that he would be back training with the first team today. We hope to see some of the pictures. He's not. He's still training with the physio next week. They're definitely taking their time with Pogba. And I think Pogba is driving that as well, taking the time. He needs to be back properly, because if he has another relapse, he'll miss the Euros. So that's the Pogba situation. Dan James still not fit, so he won't play. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka's got a knock as well, so he won't play. So it could be precautionary with both players to make sure they're back for the derby. We desperately need... I don't want to talk about the derby. I want to talk about Derby County, but the Manchester derby on Sunday, we desperately need Wan-Bissaka. You think about someone like Raheem Sterling running at the low. It's a worrying prospect. We need Wan-Bissaka for that game. I think if we didn't have Wan-Bissaka against Manchester City, we'd really see how important Wan-Bissaka is. But the chart show is going to be very interesting on Saturday morning, isn't it? Because, Wan-Bissaka... Well, look, we'll do the chart show on Sunday, Saturday morning anyway. Do I think that Pereira can improve at any point, says John Papa? Look, I do like Andreas Pereira. I thought he was going to be a lot better, but I can't lie from the fact that he's had a dreadful season for Manchester United. And I think these games, I mean, when we played Tranmere and Lingard scored, and everyone's like, Lingy's back and all that, it's Tranmere. They're in they're right at the bottom of League One. They're crap. Derby tomorrow is big for people like Pereira and Lingard and Mata, because it's Championship teams and they should be doing well. Mark, I'm new. Greetings, says Maid Schooler. Thank you very much. If you are new, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please smash a like on the video if you're watching live, or if you're not watching live. Is Pogba playing against Derby, says Hayesman? No, Solskjaer confirms Pogba return, because this is the Derby preview, but it's also Solskjaer's press conference reaction. He has confirmed Pogba's return date, and that is next Tuesday. Training with the first team is when Pogba's back. So he won't be involved against Derby. He won't be involved against Manchester City in the Manchester derby. He won't be involved away for the first Europa League game. He might be involved for the Spurs game a week on Sunday, but he's not back training with the first team this week. It's next Tuesday. So clarity on that, I think, is important, because you start to get hyped, don't you? I am doing my FIFA career mode on That's Football at 1:30 today, MS, so you can join me for that. It's actually the Euros, which is going to be really weird to do, but there you go. And Mike Cass says, you're too polite. Pereira has never had a good game good enough to be a Man United player. Never. Well, I was at the Southampton game last year and he played quite well and he scored the winner. And I hoped that was going to sort of turn it around. Red Devil says, can't we rest Maguire? We need to rest Harry Maguire. We do need to rest Harry Maguire. I think that statistically, the amount of minutes that Harry Maguire's... In fact, I'm going to write that down for later, because some of the minutes United have played this year is going to be very interesting. But squad rotation is very important as well. I'm from Derby and I want to meet Flex and Rants after the game. Are they going to be there? Says Namas Hazan. We're there at every game, home and away, Europe, Australia, wherever. The United Stand are always doing fan cams after United games, so you can see us there. Yes, you can. And 4-1 to United, says Chris Laws. I've gone 1-1. 1-1 in this game, I think. But look, thanks everyone for watching. Really good press conference from Ollie. Nice to get the clarity on Pogba. That's my predicted team. I think he'll stick with the diamond. I'm going to go 1-1. I'm really excited about it. Welcome to Nile19, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Remember, the podcast is going up at midday. Check out the links in the video description. The United Stand podcast, every week, exclusively as a podcast, goes up at midday. If nobody knows what it's about, it's a bit like me doing a few questions, few topical things, bit like a radio show, really, every week on the iTunes and all the other podcast outlets. Links in the video description. Not a lot of people know we do one, so maybe go and listen to it now. You don't need YouTube for it. I'll speak to you all at 8 o'clock tonight on YouTube or on the podcast at midday. Speak to you soon. Thanks for watching.